There's been plenty of speculation around Bukayo Saka's fitness ahead of the second game of the tournament against Ghana on Tuesday. The winger has been recovering from an Achilles injury, but striker Ollie Watkins says Saka hasn't missed a training session in the US.
He's trying to put me on the spot there. No, so I'm not in the physio department, but look, he hasn't missed a day of training, so I think that's a good thing. I think he's played so many games throughout these last few years. You can see, because he's a crucial player for Arsenal and very important, because you know he's a top quality player. So I think, yeah, managing niggles going into a competition is very important. You know, for the later stages, you need important players like him to be ready to play and step up when called upon. So yeah, to play with him, I've only played with him a handful of times, but he's very unselfish, and that's perfect as a striker, someone who's always looking for you, and I feel like he makes always the right decision as a footballer. Whenever he receives the ball, you know he's going to always make the right decision, and I think that's the hardest thing to do in football.
Watkins was also full of praise for the work Thomas Tuchel has done with England ahead of that game against Ghana.
He's not afraid to shout at you, and yeah, he's always demanding from you, making sure you're on it every day. I think you saw it with Jed, that he was saying, "Wake up, wake up." It was lucky that it wasn't me. I think I made a mistake just before Jed did, and he ended up shouting at Jed, luckily. But I think it just shows you that he's a winner at the end of the day, and he's always driving the standards, making sure we're on it. And I think that's what you need when you, obviously the aim is to win a World Cup. So yeah, very demanding, but when it's around the base camp, he's very relaxed and chilled. Every game you play, I think we want to win at the end of the day. We're preparing now for the game at hand, and doing all we can to win. I think we want to top the group. I think we want to win every game, progress through the next round. I think that's everyone's aim at the end of the day. But yeah, we're in a good position so far. But we need to keep building on the Croatia performance.
This was another really impressive performance in front of the media by an England player, Ollie Watkins, who's now, I think, a senior member of this England squad. We all know the impact he made in the Euros in Germany 2 years ago with that goal against the Netherlands that took England to the final. And it seems as though that's made him a little bit more comfortable in his own skin. And he's clearly very comfortable with this role of being one of Thomas Tuchel's finishers. He said that Jude Bellingham was asking him what that's like. And he said, look, you've got to adjust to the mentality, but he doesn't see the pressure of doing it. And he said the most important thing for him is to watch how the game is progressing, and he thinks he can take advantage of the tiredness in opposition players, maybe see where they're weak from the bench before coming on and taking an advantage. Interesting as well, he likes the idea of this new hydration break that we're seeing at the World Cup. Not everybody's a fan. Ollie Watkins is, because he says he does an awful lot of short sprints. So the chance to get his breath back in those is really, really important. He talked about his Aston Villa teammate, Morgan Rogers, who he says can go to the very top. And he's seen how he's developed in the last 18 months, how his confidence has built. And that has given him full belief that he can be one of England's elite players going forward. Interesting that he was asked about the criticism of Jeremy Doku, who has suggested he wants to go home for the birth of his child from this World Cup. And Ollie Watkins was really pointed in saying absolutely fine, he has no problem with that. And he said that someone labelling that as disgusting is not got it right at all. That's not a way to label a birth, is what Ollie Watkins said. And then he was a bit more light-hearted as well. He said that he doesn't know a lot about American sports, but because he had a bit of time off with his family a couple of days ago and he'd been given a Dallas Cowboys shirt, he wore that into Kansas City, where somebody pointed out pretty quickly that he shouldn't be wearing that. But they also recommended he goes to Joe's Barbecue. We've been there. It's pretty special. I can recommend it all to the England squad.
England are counting down to their second World Cup group game with just a couple of days to go now until Thomas Tuchel's side take on Ghana. Our football correspondent Rob Dorset is at their training base in Kansas City. Rob.
The England squad is training right now while we speak to you, away from the cameras, as is always the case 2 days before a match day. And today's the day when the intensity levels in that training session will ramp up. And Thomas Tuchel and Anthony Barry, his assistant, will have the players really focusing on the tactical preparation for Ghana. Who's going to pick up who at set pieces? How are they going to attack what they believe are Ghana's weaknesses? And crucially, I think, how are England going to cope with the real threat of Antoine Semenyo? bear in mind that there are 3 Manchester City teammates in England's defensive unit that may be able to offer a bit of an insight into that. Nico O'Reilly, John Stones and Mark Gay. Discussion about Mark Gay and whether he's going to come into the England defence, by the way, after there was some shaky moments for the back 4 against Croatia. But we won't see them train. We'll hear from one of the England members of the squad shortly, though, probably about 7:30 UK time. One of them will come over to the media centre, and when they do speak, we'll bring that to you live on Sky Sports News. Remember, one more training session for England after today before they fly to Boston for that second World Cup game.
Well, awaiting them in Boston will be thousands of England fans and our chief correspondent, Kaveh Solokol, who we can speak to right now. So, Kaveh, what can England and their fans expect then when they arrive in Boston?
Well, first of all, Boston is a beautiful city. I'm sure they'll have a great time here. Scotland fans have been here for a few days and they've made a real impression on this city. Wherever the Tartan Army seem to go, they appear to be very, very popular with the locals. So the England fans have got something to live up to when they arrive here over the next few days. Temperature-wise, it is absolutely perfect. It's a lot cooler than other places we've been to with England, for instance, Dallas, where it was really, really hot. Here at the moment, I think it's a lot cooler than in the UK. Temperatures are in the low 20s. And on match day, Tuesday, I think there'll be a lot of rain in the morning and temperatures will be in the low 20s. So ideal conditions, really, for England fans and also England players.
Are there plenty of England fans piling into the city, Kaveh, despite the incredibly high ticket prices?
Not too many England fans here yet. We got here yesterday and there was still a lot of Scotland fans. I think they love Boston so much that they're going to stay for an extra few days before they travel down to Miami for their game against Brazil. We went to quite a nice restaurant for dinner last night and there were 4 or 5 England fans at the bar belting out England songs. I think they were Man United fans actually, because they were singing some United songs as well. It was all pretty good-natured, but it wasn't really the kind of place for singing football songs. And I think a few of the other people who were enjoying their dinner or trying to enjoy their dinner, kind of people who were on first dates, for instance, weren't too bemused. And I think the England fans were asked to leave the restaurant, but it was all very, very good-natured, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more of that over the next 48 hours or so. We have been speaking to some England fans who are already here, and as you're about to hear, they're really looking forward to the game, but one thing they keep talking about is the astronomical price of the tickets. For instance, a father and son England fans who now live in the US were telling us that they had spent $3,000, which is £2,500, just to watch England in a group game against Ghana here in Boston.
We actually live very close to Lumen Field in Seattle, and it was actually cheaper to travel across America and get tickets in Boston to go see England, and it was a challenge. Yeah, it was a challenge. It's very expensive.
How much did it cost?
We actually ended up spending $3,000 for 2 tickets. You know what I mean? Pretty good seats, you know, 35, row 35. But, you know, like you go to a Seattle Seahawks game and that's pretty spendy, but this was pretty outrageous.
There will definitely be Americans there in an England shirt because it's just so popular these days. The sport's growing. I think since they announced the World Cup, it's just been going up a lot. So I think there will be some neutrals, but definitely there will be loads of England fans there because we're on the East Coast now.
And what do Americans think about the ticket prices for these games?
It's ridiculous. I mean, we probably spent $1,500 each, so it's terrible. It's FIFA being rude to the supporters. It's just, you know, only the millionaires can go for the most part. The US played in my home city, and it was $2,000 to sit at the tip of the top.
One thing England fans need to be aware of when they get here is that the stadium is not actually in Boston, it's in Foxborough, which is about 35 miles away. It takes about 40 minutes to get there by car, depending on traffic. Of course, the stadium, which FIFA want us to call the Boston Stadium, is in actual fact Gillette Stadium, the home of the New England Patriots, and of course the one and only Tom Brady. I'm really looking forward to going there for the first time.
Should be great. Kaveh, thank you.
Scotland's preparations for their crucial match against Brazil on Wednesday have begun, and the feeling coming out of the camp seems to be one of huge positivity. Assistant coach Steven Naismith has faith in both the squad and the manager. Our reporter Luke Shanley is in Charlotte, North Carolina, and has heard how Scotland are bidding to make history.
Well, the Scotland team were in high spirits at training today. Despite that defeat against Morocco, Scotland lost the goal after 71 seconds, but they did fight back, but maybe didn't test the goalkeeper enough or anywhere near enough. But they have to get that balance right against Brazil. If they can get something out of the game, they will create history and go through to the next stage of a major tournament for the first time. The worry is, though, a heavy defeat, and they might not even be one of the best third-place teams. So that is the balance that Steve Clarke has to strike. But Scotland, who have never managed to beat Brazil in 10 previous meetings, could try and get something that would make them create history. This is what Steven Naismith, the assistant head coach, had to say.
I sat here last week and said, if we qualify for the group, it's the first squad to do it. I think this squad deserves to do it. I think we've got the players to do it. And I think we've got the manager to do it. We need to just make sure we're... The other night's game, the goal coming so quick, we need to make sure for the first whistle we're on it. And like any game, the magnitude of these games is definitely big, as big as for some of the players that any of the games they played in. But you know you can be punished at any one moment in the game, so you've got to be switched on. And then in the final third, I think we've got to. I think the manager spoke after the game saying that we had a few opportunities, but probably not as many as we liked. Not as many as thinking back to Greece away, where we have really good opportunities. That's the bit that hopefully we can have more of them.
Well, Naismith also added that Scott McKenna will be back in training tomorrow. Lewis Ferguson, who sat out today, has been one of Scotland's better players at this World Cup, if not the best player so far in terms of performances. He just sat out. It was a recovery session that he was doing, so he'll be okay. But no real update on Aaron Hickey, who missed out against Morocco. Scotland will be training tomorrow before heading off to Miami for the big one against Brazil.
Well, first time since Friday's defeat to Morocco, which is 3 days to go until their crucial game against Brazil. We can cross to Luke Shanley right now. Obviously a massive game, Luke, coming up for the squad. Did they seem in good spirits today?
Yeah, they did. In that game in the Gillette Stadium, the Boston Stadium against Morocco, was one they're disappointed in the respect that conceding so early maybe changed their game plan or the way they approached it. But the worst thing for Scotland would have been letting the game getting away from them and